I've been having such a pleasurable time interviewing our influencers, our bloggers, Houston women who have made such a big difference in social media in our city. I have learned that you are all high energy, very transparent and vulnerable, and you just love sharing your talents with all of us. And your talent is like to the next level because so much of what you do involves color. And I think we're all obsessed with color, but we just don't realize the impact that color has on our lives. And you seems to have tapped into it.
Oh, thank you
So
for saying that.
how did you even come up with this color concept in your social media?
Yeah. So in fact, color has just always been a part of who I am and what I do. It's natural, and fashion goes through phases, and there were times when neutrals were all in vogue, and it was hard to find colorful clothes. But
Right.
it's literally always been a part of my closet, and figuratively always been a part of my life. And in fact, so I was in oil and gas for almost 20 years. My background's engineering, and then I have my MBA as well. So I worked in different leadership roles in engineering and finance and investor relations and strategic planning for a very successful oil and gas company here in town. So
Were you able to wear all these colors?
I
though?
did. Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
did?
Oh, I never
Wow.
looked like the typical engineer. Yeah, for sure, for sure. The guys would definitely say that I stood out in that
Yes.
crowd. Yeah. So I did that for a long time. Great career. Had the opportunity to work for a very wonderful, successful entrepreneur here in Houston who started the company. But I came to a point about maybe 3.5, almost 4 years ago where I was just done. I was just kind of burnt out. And I love business, though, and was ready for another challenge. So I kind of started my blog, not with the end goal of being a blogger. The goal was to learn about this online digital world from a business perspective. The goal was to just kind of put myself out there and make connections and build a business long term. So I kind of came at it from a different perspective. I would definitely wanted the creative outlet, but it was never just for fun or just a hobby for me. It was always I think this is where the world is going. How can I make an impact? How can I make a difference? And how can I build a business in this world?
Okay.
So I got off track of answering
No,
your
that's
questions.
okay. I'm
but in the
seeing.
terms of color, so for a couple of years, I just put stuff out there, put content out there. And about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, I finally met with a branding consultant, great guy here in town. Justin Keller is his name. Someone I had known through church and community activities, but I hired him to help me with some branding. And he took a very data-driven approach, anecdotally and data-driven, both. He came, through looking at a lot of stuff, came to the conclusion, he said, Carrie, your brand's all about color. Because I was trying to decide, should I just be in fashion and travel, or should I diversify? He's like, Carrie, it doesn't matter what you write about, what you post about. The more colorful it is, the better it performs. And that was a real head-scratcher
Wow.
moment for me
So
at the
you
time.
didn't even know.
Yeah, it just was such an ingrained part of who I was, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was, in fact, the brand. And so he's the one that came up with the More Color Please slogan
Yes.
that we use. And it's really taken off, as a hashtag, hashtag More Color Please. And really everything we do revolves around that. Our mission statement is to empower women to live, think, and dress with more color. And so the great thing about that is, sure, there's the literal fashion aspect of it, or decor, whatever you want to take it. But it also has the less obvious inference of just living boldly, living your best life, so to speak. And so with that mission, we've been able to, or I have been able to take the business in several directions, both with the colorful content creation and then also helping other business women through mentoring, advising, and ultimately investing in other female-founded businesses.
Coming from New York, we always wore black.
Uh-huh.
And then we wore neutral.
Right.
And I moved to Houston. It's much more colorful. I go back to New York and they're going, you're so Texas.
Right.
I mean, because you just are wearing colors all the time. And I don't even wear colors like you wear colors. Where do you get your colorful clothes? Because if anyone were to look at your Instagram, you're just rainbows and flowers and bold colors.
Well, thank you. It does come naturally. It just is what I gravitate to. But I will say rainbow brights are somewhat having a bit of a moment. You'll see it on the runways now and in
Yes.
stores. And so I have my favorite stores I like to shop at online. And really, I'll just search rainbow. And, you can
Go
find,
away.
yeah. You can search rainbow. You can search, I'll search by color if I'm looking for maybe something pink or something, some other vibrant shade. But
That's so smart.
there's a plethora of things out there right now.
That's so good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a colorful time to be alive.
And truly, it does. There was just a survey, and we talked about it on Sunny about how Houston is like the worst work-life balance. We're number 2 on the
Yes,
list.
I saw that.
Spend too much time in our commute. We don't take enough vacation days. Life just gets boring and blah. But imagine someone like Carrie walking into the office all bright and colorful. You would change up a meeting immediately.
Well, thank you. And you bring up a good point that ties into a book that I discovered last year, and it was just published last year, and I've since become friends with the author. The book is called, I believe, Aesthetics of Joy. And the author's name is Ingrid. She wrote this book and gave a TED Talk last year. And the book was the product of 10 years of research that she did from a design perspective. She spent 10 years researching joy and what brings us joy. And her thesis is that it's not something nebulous that we, either do have or don't have, or we, kind of aimlessly chase it. But joy is something that we can proactively add to our lives through these different aesthetics. I believe she identified 8 different aesthetics, and the top one is color. And seeing color brings us joy. So how can we incorporate more of that into our lives? And the other aesthetics are equally interesting. I highly recommend the book. This is not intended to be a plug, other than because I found it very beneficial and useful.
Powerful, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, I actually am speaking with her, recording a podcast with her tomorrow on the power of color.
How cool. Where will we
lives.
find that?
Let me find out for you.
Let me know.
I'm not sure exactly. She's just launching it. And
That's
so I
excellent.
think I'm kind of her first guest on that, since it is the first aesthetic in her book. I think she'll have experts on kind of each of the 8 or so aesthetics that she identified.
My motto is it's all about the aesthetics.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? Because
Yeah.
aesthetics are very important.
It is.
My nails, because
Uh-huh.
I wear neutral colors, I always get number 88 when I get my nails done, a coral color every time. And they're like, why don't you try up a nude color or another color? I go, nope, this is my color because it
Right.
brings me joy.
That's what
Right?
you need, right?
And lipstick. We spoke with Lipstick and Brunch and Nicole, and it's her lipstick. She says it just brings, when I put on colored lipstick, it changes everything.
Right.
Silly
right.
little things that we can kind of tweak in our lives to make us, when things are tough or stressful, we have control over these parts of our lives
Right.
to bring that silly joy.
That's a great point. And yeah, I mean, the world is tough enough, complicated enough, whatever you want to say. So why not actively pursue those things that add joy, and or happiness to our lives?
Right. My husband uses paper plates. I said, no, we're going to use my beautiful green plates because they bring me. He goes, but then we have to wash the dishes. Bob, I'll wash the dishes. It's worth it, to have my pretty green plates. But for everyone, we all have our happy place, I guess is what you call it.
Yes.
I'm always curious. The women that I've been interviewing so far, high energy, very smart. Blogging isn't their primary business. It's just something that they kind of fell into and were really good at it. What are your daily habits like? I love finding out how successful, motivated women live each day. We all have goals, but many times our habits are so poor daily that we can't achieve our goals.
Right.
So I explain to my kids, you've got to have healthy daily habits in order to achieve those long-term goals. So what would a day be like for Carrie?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wish I could say I'm the model of good habits, but I think it's an ever-evolving process, right? Like in the last year, my life has changed a lot. And with that change, I think you always have to evaluate what are your priorities, what are, what's on your plate, what are you trying to accomplish? And so I've actually feel like I'm still going through kind of an evolution, and I actually have just instituted a new sort of block schedule routine for myself, because my attention can get pulled in so many different directions on any given day. So in addition to running CarrieColbert.com and the associated social media channels, that's where I do my colorful content creation. I spend, an equal amount of time these days on Carrie Colbert Investments, which is the branch of my business that invest in female-founded businesses. So whether it's investing capital, my own capital, time, mentorship, advising, I'm working with a lot of other businesswomen, helping to accelerate their growth in their business to achieve their goals. And so, I've had to kind of restructure how my days look.
Right.
So add to that, I've got a 2-year-old.
Yes.
I'm a single mother. And so also our house flooded about 6 months ago, and
Yes,
we
I
lost
saw that.
our house and most belongings.
Back to simple living, right?
It's really
I
incredible.
know it.
We don't need as much stuff as we think.
Right.
What matters really comes into focus. And and so then you just move on from there.
And
right?
when it's done, it's like you have this whole new joy that you never would have had you not gone through the struggle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a Bible verse that I stumbled upon that speaks to this situation, is something about that which can be shaken will be shaken, so that which can't be shaken will stand. Something to that effect.
Yes.
And I felt like that's been our season of life. And so far as the physical flooding of our house, which by the way wasn't a weather issue, it was a defect with the construction of the house.
It's been that's even worse.
Oh yeah, it's been a storm, if you will, and we won't be going back to that. It's like starting fresh, but in the same way that like this pipe burst or whatever it was, and rain literally started like raining down, or water started raining down from one floor to the other in our house in a matter of minutes. It changed everything. Much is the same in life, and it's kind of a nice feeling. It's scary, but nice, right? Like all the old stuff sometimes needs to be washed away to make room for the new. And so, I'm finding myself very energized, and like I said, trying to optimize my time and be efficient with what I have to kind of get the most benefit for myself and my family, as well as the other people whom I work with and I have a touch point with on a day-to-day basis.
Doesn't that bring you joy when you see you've been born with these talents, and instead of hoarding them, you're sharing them?
Absolutely. And I find myself in a unique space. So I was, like I said, fortunate to have a very successful, corporate career, if you will, for 20 or something years. Walked away with a fair amount of success, and I entered this creative arena where maybe not everyone has the benefit of 2 decades of business experience and an MBA and so on and so forth. And so it's really cool to be able to impart what I had the opportunity to learn to others, because there's no lack of great ideas and hustle and determination and drive in these young women. But maybe if we can just just apply some basic business acumen or some business principles or best practices or whatever that I had the ability to learn over my career, if we can just apply those to your business and help you accelerate, the growth and accelerate you reaching your goals, that's really cool to be a part of that.
There are women listening right now who are saying, I need to do something. I don't know whether it's social media. I don't know whether it's start my own company. What advice would you give to a woman who is struggling to find her purpose?
Sure, that's a good question. I think your whole story plays into that. Everything you've been through, good, bad, and different, all of your experiences make you who you are today. And so as you look into, maybe making that a business or, a career path, whatever you want to say, I would challenge you to think of what differentiates you and what value could you impart to others. If you're adding value to others' lives, I like to think the rest will naturally follow. But don't just start a blog for the sake of starting a blog. It's a crowded landscape, if you will. It's very crowded. There are a million people out there. So how are you going to be different? How are you going to stand out? What do you have to offer other people that's not already being offered? And that's a tough question, right? Like, in a sea of everyone wanting to kind of look the same, act the same, be the same, what do you have that's different? Because that's really what's going to draw people to you and, make them loyal to you. And eventually that'll turn into being a customer or client or whatever, right? I think you're exactly right. Following your passion is the key. And you do have to find a way to ultimately monetize that. But first, just figure out how you can use that passion to add value to the lives of others.
And I'm listening to you talk about how our quest is to be like everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
And here you are saying, no, focus on your differences. That's usually something we don't want to focus on. What was it about your childhood, something that happened to you that made you go, I'm just a colorful person. And even though everyone in the corporate world is dressing like this, I'm going to dress like this. I mean, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Oh, good question.
Like, was
I
it mom
appreciate it.
inspiring you, or grandma, or dad, or?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town, North Texas, as far north as you can go and be in Texas. Not only was the town small, but it was very isolated.
Uh-huh.
We were 2 hours from the nearest airport, 2 hours from the nearest mall, and even 2 states away from the nearest Walmart. If one
That's
would
horrible.
want to go to Walmart, you'd
I'm
have to
so
go
sorry.
to Kansas. That's how far north we were. So not only small town, but very isolated. And I don't know. I was always just kind of an achiever and wanted to accomplish something and make a difference. It sounds very cliche, and I don't mean to, but I actually did not have the most idealistic childhood, and didn't have super successful parents or anything like that, from a financial or educational standpoint. And so I really have always looked at, just kind of forging my own path. So I
Wow.
moved 600 miles away from home to go to Austin, to go to UT in Austin. Didn't know anyone in Austin, didn't have any, connections, just went there on scholarship. Graduated at the top of my engineering class, 3.98 GPA. I had 1B the whole time I was studying
Whoa.
engineering. And so in engineering was a very pragmatic choice. I don't know that I was ever passionate about it, but I knew that I needed to study something practical in which I can, just start a career and start making money and,
Right.
learn something. I did find along the way I was very passionate about business, had the opportunity to go back and get my MBA while I was working. And so I guess it's just always been kind of an internal drive to stand out, to make a difference.
Are you a
that
middle
sort of
child?
thing. I'm an oldest
Oh,
child.
you're an oldest. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that would explain that too. Either middle or
Yeah.
oldest. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that internal drive to stand out.
Yeah.
I always love looking at the birth order
Uh-huh.
to see
It's interesting,
It
right?
really is interesting. It is.
I'm the oldest of 4 girls.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have your sisters kind of followed in your
We're
footsteps?
all very different. I
Mhm.
would say everyone's successful in her own right.
Are they all colorful like you?
No, in fact, my sister, with whom I'm very close, we're closest in age. She wears all blacks and neutrals and grays, and it's so funny because my 2-year-old daughter already recognizes that. Like, for instance, today I'm carrying a black tote. I rarely do that, and when I pick that up, my little girl Elle says Kiki, Kiki, and my sister's name is Kelly. She calls her Kiki, and she knows that's a Kiki bag. That is not a typical mommy bag. That is a Kiki bag.
That is
And on the rare
amazing.
occasion when my sister busts out with some colorful item of clothing, as she did on Easter, I think she wore a pink floral dress. Elle kind of looked at her oddly and said, mommy dress, mommy dress. She's like, I know the lanes that you two ladies, stay in from a style standpoint. She's like, and I'll call you out on it when you're not in your lane.
It really is interesting because truly for a year, and you talked about how, this last year has been different and you're trying to kind of change up your life a little bit and you adjust to the things that
Yeah.
have been thrown in your path. 1 year, and I think it's because I've been here at Sunny for 30 years.
Okay.
Every year I change up my life just to create some excitement.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 year I just dedicated my life to wearing the exact same thing every day. Gray t-shirts and white jeans. Every day I had 8 gray t-shirts and 8 pairs of white jeans.
Yeah.
And then 1 year I got so sick of it that I changed it up. Then I broke my leg and now I'm wearing culottes all the time to fit over this stupid boot. And so you just kind of adjust. It's fun to have a silly goal, but you do adjust with the things that life has thrown your way and kind of make fun of with all of it.
Right. You have to look at it at the good coming out of it, right? Like a fresh perspective can,
Fresh perspective.
yeah, it can be tough, but it can be so beneficial. Okay, I lost my house, I lost belongings, I became single, I changed up the staff on my business, I had a nanny change, like literally everything in my life
Everything.
has changed. And it's tough as hell. I'm not going to say it's not. But then you step away and say, okay, now how do we rebuild? How do we look at things from a different perspective? How do we craft things? Now that we've got a blank slate, how do we craft things to look the way we want them to? How do we craft the life that we really want to lead now? Okay, well, maybe it looks like this. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to do less of that and more of this. And, so it's really a fresh perspective can bring a fresh start.
I love that. And that ties into something that you're doing that I never would even have thought of. When you go to your Instagram and you see that Christmas tree that you created, and then
Yeah.
you're telling me about your Thanksgiving pumpkins, the colors that I think if everyone saw this tree, we would all want our trees to no longer be green, but colorful and pink
I
and
appreciate that.
just like that tree. Did you create it? Did you buy it? Did you have a designer make it?
Good question. So I'll back up by saying it's everyone kind of embraces colors in the spring and summer. Everything's blooming and everything's alive. But when you get into fall and winter months, the neutrals really prevail, right?
Yes.
Oranges, browns, not really my cup of tea. And so last year I was on a mission to make holidays colorful. So I was in a new house, the one which is no more now, but that's another story. So Elle and I were living in a new house. I thought, okay, we're gonna do the holiday decor more color please style, right? Carrie style. And so I teamed up with a friend who has an online decor store, and I had the idea, and then she sourced for me the rainbow of pumpkins. So you can set them on your mantle, you can set them on your table as a centerpiece. So that was kind of my thing for call it Halloween, Thanksgiving, what have you. And then as we went into Christmas, I really wanted to do a rainbow tree. And I searched the internet for an actual like rainbow tree. And the only ones I could find were a little tacky and juvenile. I like to elevate the rainbow. I want a sophisticated rainbow,
gorgeous.
Right? Like we're not talking cheesy colors here. We're talking sophisticated, elegant.
This is
Martha
Martha Stewart on steroids.
Well, thank
truly.
you. And so I for that, I had the idea, but I teamed up with a local florist who helped me, and we went to, I forget, one of the craft stores, either Michael's, Hobby Lobby, something of that sort, and we just bought all the faux florals in a rainbow of colors. We got all the ribbons and whatnot, and spent a day decorating it. And
Unbelievable.
I just love the way it turned out.
I mean, it didn't even look real.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, but you actually did this.
Thank you.
You created this.
And then I left it up for as long as possible to enjoy.
Because why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're actually working on a plan to make those products available for purchase if anyone else would like to rainbow size their holidays.
Go for your website. How will we find you?
CarrieColbert.com is my website. Our slogan is more color please, but just go to my name. My Instagram is just Carrie C @CarrieC. And that's where you can find me.
How did you end up in Houston?
Oh, good question. So my degree was in petroleum engineering. And so when I graduated from UT in Austin, I moved here. So actually this month, maybe this week, marks 20 years that I've been in Houston.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And how do you like it coming from a small town to the big city, which has a small town feel, I like to tell people?
Yeah, no, it's definitely home now. I could never go back to the small town where I grew up for sure. Houston is home. I love all the advantages of living in a big city. And Houston is such a wonderfully diverse, interesting city, from the cultural scene to the arts scene. You've got the food scene. We can't leave that out, right?
Know.
Yeah, so it's so much to offer here. So I'm glad to call it home.
What are some of your, as a colorful woman, what are some of your favorite things to do in Houston?
Oh, good question. We have a ton of Houston guides on my website. So, from coffee, margaritas, tacos, like kind of all the best of Houston. And these are all like our personal recommendations. We've gone to all these places, taste tested, done all these things. So certainly the food scene has a great spot. But one of my favorite things is looking at all the great street art in Houston.
Yes.
It's very underrated, but Houston has one of the best street art scenes in America. And so maybe 3 or so years ago, we created a Houston mural guide on our website, and we continually update it. We currently have over 100 colorful walls across Houston documented. So original photography, all the details on, the address, tips and tricks, where to park, which way it faces, when the light's good. But these places have become so symbolic. I think these are the walls bringing people together, if you will. It's this free public art that people are able to access so they can take their kids and take their dogs, take their families, go take pictures, go admire it, go interact with the art. And we're thrilled to have provided, the guide to do that. So,
and I just want to say, when you look at these pictures, you're there in an absolutely adorable, very unique outfit to kind of highlight it.
Thank you.
Are you seeing the painting first and then saying, okay, let me order that outfit? Or are you just kind of wearing an outfit that you already had and you go, okay, I'll do it against that picture?
Yeah. So which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Is sometimes, the magic just comes together and I see the wall beforehand and I think of something either in my closet or online that I buy. But I'm trying to cut back on the consumerism. I learned that after, losing possessions. We don't need as many as we think.
Right.
But nevertheless, yes. So sometimes I'm like, that dress needs to go with that wall. And then other times I see a new wall and I just stop and take a picture. But yeah, so what has shocked me has been the popularity of that mural guide. For 3 years running now, it's the highest viewed page on our website every month. Month after month, people are searching that out. And, I just think it's bringing people together. It's something free to do, something for families to do. As we get into the holidays, people do their holiday pictures for their cards and whatnot in front of these walls. We actually are going to release an update. We've got a dozen or so new walls to add. The scene is constantly evolving, and we're just really fortunate here in Houston to have such a vibrant scene that many people don't even know about.
Right. I live in the East End, so I'm living amongst a lot of these artists, and I get to meet them. And you just like Toot Sweet is a popular hangout for them, and you just like, man, you're just so talented.
And what about the emergence of the East Side?
I know.
East Downtown.
It's very exciting. Well, our whole city has really gone through such incredible change. I mean, these new buildings, our landscape has become huge with this beautiful downtown skyline. Yeah. That in itself is a beautiful mural. Yes. And it's becoming so popular. And
speaking of color and art, this just popped in my mind. I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. There is a pop-up experience that I believe is the best pop-up experience that's been done. Everyone's doing these kind of Instagram museums.
Oh yeah, there's a big balloon one. Big A Balloon's going to have a pop-up shop. Yeah,
they are, and they did it last year. And I'm a big fan of those gals. Have used them, worked with them for years. There's one coming to town this fall that I think will be here for months. I don't know, but it's only the third city in the U.S. that they've gone to. They started in San Francisco, then did New York. It's called A Color Factory. And I'm friends with the woman who started it. Her name is Jordan Fernie. And it's really incredible. I think it's unlike any other pop-up experience that's been done. Jordan does it right. She partners with a local museum. I'm not sure which one she ended up picking here in Houston, but part of the proceeds go back to a local museum. And she hires actual artists to do each room. A lot of local artists. I'm sure she'll have some come in, but it's actually a great tribute to color and art. It's not just plastic, backdrops thrown up or something. I mean, it is art, and it is all based around color. And so I'd encourage everyone to check it out. Tickets will probably go on sale pretty soon. In San Francisco and New York, people were tickets sell out immediately. It's quite the experience.
It's a color factory, and if we go to your website, I'm sure you'll be
I'll be posting about it for sure. Yeah, good. And I think their website is acolorfactory.com or something of that sort.
Do we know the timeline?
I don't. I think it's opening up in September. I know right now I've seen pictures. The building's currently being painted, and I'm not sure exactly where it is. I need to find it because it's going to be a great new, it's a striped, colorful mural on the side. So I'll be documenting it shortly and finding out more details, and I'll be sure to share.
Last year, my kids on Thanksgiving hired a photographer, and they went to some of these murals.
Oh, fabulous.
And I've got 5 kids and grandkids, and they took pictures for me and created a book.
That's so
I'm thinking something like this would be incredible for families to do for the holidays.
Absolutely.
You can make these picture books so inexpensive, and they're priceless.
Yes.
I mean, you just have a little book now of your family against some of our incredible paintings. Send it to anywhere around the nation, and people would be like, that's Houston?
Yeah,
that's Houston.
In fact, we made a coffee table book with all these colorful walls. We did it right after Harvey, so it'd be about 2 years ago, but we made I don't know, we probably have 80 of the murals. We kind of paired each one with a famous quote or an inspirational quote, something of that sort. So it's a really pretty coffee table book that we put together for sale, with all the murals in it.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. I have to ask you, with all that you do in your day, I was talking with another Houston woman the other day about TV shows. Netflix,
goodness,
Prime, Amazon Prime. Do you do that at all? Do you binge watch?
Yes. I wish I could be like, no TV for me. I only spend my time.
Some of our Houston women podcasts, they've said no TV, but some have said, oh, yes, we do.
I have to say, I am a podcast junkie. I listen to all sorts of, business, inspirational stuff, but I still have a soft spot for some junky reality TV.
What are you watching?
Oh gosh.
Come on, come on.
I confessed this on my stories the other day, my Instagram stories, and so many people chimed in and had the same obsession. So I'm not alone. So I'll just go ahead and name a few.
Do it.
So usually, Bachelor, Bachelorette, but I've gotten into some other things lately that are just funny and they're mindless. And I turn them on like when I'm doing email or like some mindless task. I'll just have it on in the background. So like there's one called 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, so it's on the same channel as Gypsy. It's Bravo. You're watching Bravo.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yes,
you're watching Bravo.
I don't know what Gypsy is.
Don't
give me any more.
It's a group of
vices.
gypsies.
Oh,
and the way that they
wow.
choose to live their life, very flamboyant and crazy. And I'm like, I'm obsessed with it. I'm going, I wish I could be that uninhibited, But yes, yours is 90 Day Fiance.
There's one called Married at First Sight.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So, there's no shortage of bad TV.
Mindless TV.
Another one that I'm obsessed with, and this is Houston-based, My 600-Pound Life.
Oh, yes, that's another.
Dr. Now here in Houston. He changes these people's world.
And
if they'll follow his program.
Yes. they cheat.
Oh,
they can't do it. And you're just like cheering these people on.
You can do it. You can do it.
How about the Busbys, the Outdaughtered?
Yes.
I've been trying to get Mimi, the grandma, on this show. We keep like missing each other.
What about Danielle?
Danielle is way too busy. I would love to get that woman on. I don't even know how she does it.
Well, so my
Do you know her?
Friends of friends, let's say that. So the most recent business that I've invested in is a Houston-based tech company called Social Mama. So it's an app for moms to connect with like-minded moms, like-minded moms, not. So the tagline is "Find a mom like you," right? So think of it as a dating app for moms, except more sophisticated and robust than that. So whether you have a child with autism, or you're looking to connect with other moms who maybe are into homeschooling, or on a number of dimensions, we can connect moms. So it's not a, Tinder, swipe right, swipe left sort of deal. It's a more thorough onboarding process that then will ultimately, match you on multiple dimensions to moms.
That's incredible.
Yeah, started here by a Houston woman. You should talk with her.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so we actually just announced that partnership about less than a month ago.
What's the app called again?
It's called Social Mama.
Social Mama.
Go download it. Let me know what you think. It's tech apps, as I'm learning, take a long time to perfect, and it's a work in progress. But we've just released a new version that's got a lot of enhancements, and we're getting really good feedback from it. So
if you've got 6 babies,
yes.
Danielle Busby.
Oh, so Danielle is
she part of it?
Somehow. I'm not. Yeah. So I know Amanda, who founded Social Mama, knows Danielle. So I'll work on this connection.
Now, we
here.
spoke with an Amanda West University Moms.
So Amanda at West University Moms is involved with Social Mama too.
You ladies all kind of get together,
so
like-minded.
The Social Mama app has a program called Mentor Mamas, and so these are somewhat advocates for the app, cheerleaders, are megaphones out in the community, but then also they're very involved in the app, on the message boards and so on and so forth. And Amanda is one of those. She's doing a great job with West University Moms, and so Amanda at Social Mama is glad to have her on board.
That's so cool.
Definitely worth checking out. It's Houston-based. It's female-founded, tech company doing great things.
It's neat that us Houston women, Houston is not known as a pretty place. I say we make our own pretty in this city.
Yeah.
To have all these Houston women coming from all different backgrounds and just here to serve each other and help each other succeed.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Absolutely. It's such a vibrant community here in Houston of women supporting women and doing great things. It's not a competition. I really see community over competition here. And it's beautiful for people to recognize that my success does not subtract from your success, right? It's all additive. The pie just gets bigger and bigger.
Yes. Advice for your little girl, Elle. What do now I know she's little, and so you haven't been, through a lot of experiences, but maybe some advice that you got as a woman that you think you will pass on to her.
That is probably the hardest question you've asked yet, and it's one I think about daily. It's not it's not hard because I haven't thought about it. I think about it daily. I did not have a great mom growing up. I'll leave those details for another time. But and so becoming a mom wasn't really something that was on my radar. Elle was actually a surprise at age 40. And so
Wow.
she is the biggest blessing in my life,
Yes.
and my whole life is built around her. So I retired from my corporate career before I had her, not knowing that I would have a kid. But it's really cool to see how life plays out, right? Like
Yes.
it's so nice. I work for myself now, of course, and so I work my ass off, but I'm a little bit more flexible in terms of when I work, where I work, and my office is right across the street from our home, and so I'm nearby and get to be a part of her everyday moments a lot more than I would have otherwise.
Right.
So going back to what I want to teach her, when I was pregnant, I commissioned one of my favorite artists, Ashley Longshore. Ashley's out of New Orleans. We've become great friends. And she's blowing up. If you don't know Ashley, you have to look her up. You have to follow her. Talk about a woman living fearlessly, authentically. Ashley is just out there doing great things.
Ashley Longshore.
Yes.
Got it.
She's been called like the Andy Warhol of our generation.
Wow.
I mean, she's a pop artist, and I've collected her for 5, 6, 7 years now, and I swear she's going to price me out of the market. Her paintings get more and more expensive, even from just 5 years ago when I started. I'm like, okay, I bought 4 feet by 4 feet paintings then, and I'm getting down to like 12-inch paintings at this point. But anyway, so back when I was pregnant with Elle, I had this idea to commission her to do a painting. And it's this big circular painting that just has Elle's name in the middle, and then in a rainbow of colors, of course. I just jotted down all my kind of hopes and dreams and wishes for Elle. And through, like I said, Ashley and her president of operations, Kate, and I have all become friends. And we just had a group text message, and I just sent them like different things that I wished for my daughter, clarity, vision, hope. It's not so much a certain path I want her to take as a certain person I hope that she becomes. And so Ashley so beautifully turned those into a painting where it's Elle's name just surrounded by rings and rings of these words that I wish for her. And so that hangs right
That's
above her crib.
beautiful.
And so I guess to answer your question in a very nebulous roundabout way, I look at that a lot as I pray for her and talk to her and kind of pass along those hopes and dreams.
I've always prayed for my kids' spouses when they were little babies.
So
Every
wise.
morning I prayed for their spouses. And it's amazing how those prayers have been answered out of 3 of the 5 of them. It's really, really incredible how that truly works. But I remember as a little girl looking at words on maybe a little stool that my mom got me, words that were like buttons, buttons, who's got the buttons? Little kids remember words. Your little girl is going to be reading all of those words every day as she begins to read. And it'll really become a part of her heart.
Thank you for
I mean,
saying that.
truly. Yeah, I remember those. It
Yeah.
really, it's just beautiful. You
Yeah.
were just a delightful woman. I have had more fun watching you all on social media, and then meeting you has just been more delightful. There's been no disappointment.
Well, delightful is the word I would use to describe you. So thank you for having me. You've
Oh.
just been an absolute delight and pleasure to visit with.
Well, good luck on your new journey, your
Thank
new
you.
simple living. We've downsized houses, and it's just so much easier
There's
and more
something
joyful.
freeing about it,
Truly,
isn't it?
really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Well, enjoy your journey, and thank you for bringing such beautiful color into our studio, because
Aw.
we're just yellow and red here. Now we're all colorful.
Thank you,
Carrie,
Dana.
great to talk to you.
Thank you.